Hey everyone, this is Chris.
And Steve.
And you're listening to / watching One Cross Radio. And today we are talking about...
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame. I was about to say the phenomenon of Avengers Endgame because it borderline is. Like, it is what Star Wars used to be. That's the closest comparison I can get out of it.
What Star Wars used to be. I guess so. I just know people that don't care about like Avengers are all of a sudden like, I have to watch this movie.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. Like, okay. It's an event.
Yeah. It's incredible how, like, it's become an event with no marketing and a whole bunch of press tours where everyone's just like, I don't know, I can't talk about it.
Well, and I was actually thinking about this because we took 30 Youth from my work to see that on Tuesday, April 30th. And I remember the day the tickets dropped because they dropped April 2nd. And all you had before was there was no confirmation like tickets would be on sale.
Yeah.
There was just kind of rumors. And then they dropped a trailer to say tickets on sale.
Yeah.
Which, genius marketing. And then the internet crashed in California. Yeah. The apps were crashing. But before we get into the movie proper, I cannot state this enough. It's still blowing my mind. Worldwide box office for this movie in its first 4 days was $1.2 billion.
Yep.
That's friggin' insane.
That's a lot of dollars.
It is right now.
Or if you're in Canada, 1.9 billion.
As of the time of this recording, it is just...
Which is the Monday after opening.
The Monday after opening, just to shatter the disillusion. We're dropping this in a couple weeks, so then the dust has settled, because... Spoilers!
The dust was after this last movie, though.
Listen. But even... It's so funny, because even on YouTube, as people are, like, pointing out, like, look, we're talking about the movie, spoilers. We're talking about the movie, spoilers. Spoiler in the title, spoiler on the graphic image.
All day spoilers.
And people are getting upset. So by the time this comes out, it'll be 3 weeks out from the movie. Spoilers. If you somehow haven't seen this movie, don't listen to this. Come back to when you have, because it's an excellent film.
And it'll be a great podcast, too.
Yes, it will be a great episode. But as of today, it is just $300 million, which is nothing to sneeze at. But in the scheme of things, like, it's... I hate you. It's just $300 million shy of the first Avengers film, like, entire box office run worldwide.
Yeah.
It is just $200 million shy of Age of Ultron's entire box office run. In its first 4 days, it made a couple $100 million more than Captain Marvel's run in the theaters, which is currently on day 41. Mm-hmm. Which definitely got a late boost because Avengers was coming out the next week.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel made great numbers, but then it was one of the few movies, and thank you to Dan Merle from Screen Rant. Your Charting with Dan show is awesome. He pointed out, like, it's rare that a movie will drop off the top 5 and then pop back on. And it did that the weekend before this weekend.
Makes sense.
Where it was nothing else was really opening, like nothing expected to do big numbers was opening. Mm-hmm. And then it was suddenly it went from like number 6 to number 2 or 3. It hopped back on because people are like, all right, we're going to go. So just insane how much it's made. Now let's get into the movie proper.
All right. So, what initial thoughts?
I friggin' loved this movie. I can't state that enough. It is... Oh, Luna's on screen. Steve, love me. If it's any consolation, she did this to Mike last time.
I listened to that one.
No, you can see it on the tape too.
Trying to be professional and not mentioning it, but you know.
Yeah, no. At this point, it's just it's reality. Luna is a co-host. It was different than my expectations, but it exceeded them.
It definitely was different than what I expected. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was a great, like, the word that people keep throwing around that I can't, like, once you watch it, you're like, yeah, that's the best word for it. It's satisfying.
Yeah.
Everything that needed, like, there was just so much closure.
Oh
that
my
happened
gosh,
in this movie.
yeah.
I think, like, I did really, really, really like it, and I'm still processing. I just saw it last night, so, you know, just over 12 hours ago it finished. I feel like I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the twists that they took in it, and trying to. And you've seen it twice, right?
I've had the benefit of seeing it twice by this point. For me, there was a day off in between each viewing, and like I said, I'm seeing it again tomorrow with youth from work.
Sure.
And I've been so glad to have that day in between, because when I've gotten home from the movie, I'm like, I can't watch anything that remotely needs me to sink my teeth into it, because it is, not only is it satisfying, it is a very emotional ride.
Yeah.
Like, people cried in the theaters.
I cried a little.
I teared up. Like, I didn't full on cry, but there was times where I was tearing up a bit. But yesterday there was a woman full on bawling during one of the certain scenes.
Yeah.
And then the
Spoilers.
audience.
There's scenes.
Yes, there are scenes. Actually, if I can sum up what you can say about this movie without spoiling anything, is it is a movie. And that's about it.
The movie has a beginning and it has an ending. As Jeremy Renner said many times.
As Renner said, yeah. It is something to digest.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend seeing it a second time, just so you can wrap your head around everything that's going. Because then when you know what's coming, you can actually kind of absorb everything else.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's the kind of movie that it makes me want to go back and watch everything. Not that I didn't already anyway. Like, I kind of was like, I should go back and watch all 22 movies. But like, with what's in this movie and how they wrap things up, it makes me want to go back and say, like, oh, what's one of my coworkers, a friend from church who's working as our custodian right now, took 3 days off work, got his brother to fill in for him, and did the 60-hour like cinematic marathon. 60 hours.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even understand the draw for that. Like 2.5 days.
Yeah.
Why you like? I don't know.
Part of me kind of wanted to, but then at the same point, I'm like, I can't do it.
I think I would have done it for the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
For the 6, I couldn't do it for 22 movies.
Yeah. That's.
He's like, what are you talking about? After Age of Ultron, you get a 2-hour break, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, 30 hours, then you get to have 2 hours.
That's enough. Like that's enough of a break.
Anyway,
like,
we should talk about the movie actually. I think one of the things we want to do talking about is just kind of go through some of the character moments and arcs. I think it's probably the best way to do it, because it's definitely more of a character story than there's a plot and there's a lot of action, but it's the characters that really make it. We talked about already Captain Marvel and how she came out just before this movie. Yeah. What did you think about her part in the movie?
I liked how they used her. Very much just because a fear I had and a lot of people had would be like, she's the answer.
Yeah.
And she wasn't.
No.
Like, she definitely had a huge impact. She was a great addition.
Yeah.
But I loved that she was not the solution. They even had her like tossed aside and then punched away.
Yeah, they did like the Wolverine from Days of Future Past.
Exactly.
I do kind of feel like in some ways she was shoehorned in a little bit. Like she could have not been in the movie without the movie really suffering much.
Yeah, it's almost like because she's speculated. I'm not sure. I've heard it's been confirmed. I haven't seen anything yet. Like she's going to be a figurehead of the MCU going forward.
Yeah.
That you can't include that character and then not have them be in there, but she could have been removed.
Yeah.
I think there's room for that, because also when we get to him in the final battle, I think another character could have done some of the stuff that she did, because we barely saw him in the final battle.
Yeah, and I think one of the what I did like about her inclusion and then exclusion was that they explained it really well. They gave us just enough. Like, there's millions of other planets that don't have you.
Yeah.
Where the same stuff's going on, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And she didn't really have a character arc. She was just in there because it's a franchise.
Well, and so many everybody can't have an arc in this movie.
Well, and most of them did, but
most of them did. But then when you look at it was the OGs.
Yeah.
But towards the end, when you get that shot, there's no way everybody can get an arc in the movie. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So if they made an arc for her, it probably would have been to the disservice of someone else. Someone else's arc might have gotten cut, and everything that was there was needed to be there.
Yeah. I think I thought it was interesting. You listened to the interviews with Brie Larson, and she said she filmed that first.
Yeah.
So she didn't even know where powers were going into that movie. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I guess I do like I liked the Captain Marvel movie, the origin story more than you did. We talked about that the other podcast for it. I do have the concern of like she is very, 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 very powerful.
Yeah.
And every time she shows up, she just blows up all the bad guy ships and stuff. Like, where are they going to go with her in the future
there's not much tension there.
Yeah. Like, I mean, she can get punched out of the scene with the Power Stone, but it feels a little bit like Superman-itis, from stuff.
Like this Silver Age Superman.
Yeah.
Because it looks like Bronze and Modern Age Superman gets whacked around a couple times, but
and also like even in the beginning of Infinity War, they showed how powerful Thanos was. But he's like, he can beat up the Hulk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that'll be interesting to see where they go. I'm not complaining.
Thanos is on your list, right? Because I definitely want to talk about him.
I didn't think about putting him in. Let's put him in.
Yeah, we're adding him in. Yeah. Okay. Are we talking about him now?
Sure. Go ahead.
Friggin' loved Thanos in this movie. I watched Infinity War. So I saw the movie Friday at 4:30 with Jill. We saw Endgame on Friday, so technically opening day, with Jill at 4:30, and I had the day off. So early in the day, I watched Infinity War, and it's in my top 3 Marvel movies. And Infinity War is very much from Thanos' viewpoint. So much of his development was in that movie.
Yeah.
Just to go, since it's spoiler territory, the fact that they killed him in the first 15 minutes,
I was like, happening in this movie?
What the heck?
5 years later.
I know, then it was perfect that they did that.
Yeah.
Because then you got so much character exploration later. But
when he sees the video of him dying, he's like not even upset. He's great, that's destiny.
And Thanos in this movie, I feel like he's so much like almost younger and angrier, but it's not like he expresses it.
Yeah.
But he got so much development this last movie, so in Infinity War, to see him be not evil for evil's sake, but just straight up evil.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to wipe out the entire universe this time.
Yeah.
I normally, like, it's never personal, but I will enjoy this.
Yeah.
Like, he was so gangster that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I want.
Yeah, it's like his character had regressed because he went back. He went back in time for him, right?
But it made perfect sense. Like, if that had been the starting point for him, it wouldn't have had the it wouldn't have worked. Infinity War wouldn't have worked as well if he was like that.
Yeah.
But to see that and then, like, him seeing his fate almost inspire that borderline regression was friggin' wonderful. And then him running around with that huge gangster double-edged sword.
How did he, like, there's a scene where he's getting like lightning or something blown at him, and he's just sort of spinning it with one arm. Yeah. It's like his like wrist is just like a motor. I don't know how he was doing that.
No, well, and also he was doing like stuff with like Cap does with his shield, where he's like hucking his sword and it's bouncing back.
Yeah.
I absolutely like, this might be my favorite Thanos, even though just because he was so good as
not the Thanos from Guardians of the Galaxy 1's not your favorite.
No, or
even though that was the Thanos
or the chair turn. But it was just
fine. I'll do it myself.
Yeah, like it was so good to see all that motivation led to a villain who, if that was his only motivation that we ever saw, it would have been disappointing. So even that debatable step back was a great character development. And I was so satisfied with that. And then there were stakes. There were added stakes. Like, somehow coming off the last movie where you're like, how do you create stakes past that? And then they start off the movie by killing him, where it's like, if he gets this, like, it's done. Like, not even half. It's done. It recreated stakes.
Yeah.
There was tension and worry in the audience.
And that led into Thor's arc.
Oh, big time.
Which maybe we can talk about that. Transition into him. That's the other thing that, like, I mentioned to Chris, I don't know if I've said it on this yet, I can't remember, but like the first half of the movie, I was just sitting there like, what are they doing? What is going on with this movie? We got like the big Lebowski
Thor, Thor with the beer belly. Like,
I was like, what is happening right now? And they had Thor's arc kind of progress from there, and it was played off for laughs, right? You kind of got I would say this is a step beyond Taika Waititi Thor and like into like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 he's obviously going to be a character in that.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a James Gunn Thor.
Yeah.
Like he was sillier than usual and just for laughs. But you could tell as you got to see what was going on, and it made sense.
There was a lot beneath it for why.
There made sense as you think about what happened in Ragnarok and Infinity War.
And there was also really good callback to the Dark World. Like, I didn't see that coming. Or I kind of thought when they were splitting it off,
but his mom dying.
They never explored like how huge an impact his mom dying had on him, and then like that being like no, that was his first like huge loss because Loki died, but then came back, and then died and then came back, like. Dude's lost a lot, and they have not really gone through that.
And I really enjoyed,
except the past two movies.
Like once I started thinking about it, I really liked. Like, oh yeah, like he is a broken god man or whatever he is, right? Asgardian. But I did feel a little bit uncomfortable with the way they played off that like anxiety, PTSD, brokenness as a joke all the way through. And even like when he's in Asgard in the flat, like they go back in time to Thor: The Dark World, and he's like freaking out, and Rocket's response is just like, "Get it together, we need to do this." Like that's not how you deal with someone who's struggling with anxiety, right? No. But I mean, it's not going to be a movie that's deep on every level. Like that, but
I didn't have the discomfort that you did, only because like I don't have PTSD or anything, but like I do have anxiety, and at times like how I deal, even unintentionally, is just like I never felt like. That stuff was made. That was made a joke. He would make jokes. The jokes made at his expense were all about like how this formerly insanely fit person had gotten through his depression and everything to the point where it's like the cheese whiz bits.
My theory is they asked him after Thor Ragnarok, he's like, "Do you want to extend your contract?" And he's like, "Yes, but I'm done eating boiled chicken." So like, okay, we can work with that.
It was I said to you before we started recording, it was almost like with Infinity War they could work in like verbal references to what how Thor had developed in Ragnarok, but then hello Luna. But Endgame is like where they could work in some of the more in the character, like the using humor and all that. All right, you gotta get down, puppy. You gotta get down. But Thor didn't get full-on resolution in this movie because his arc is still going because they set him up for Guardians 3.
That's the reality of being, having struggling with those kind of things, right? You can't tie that up neatly. I appreciate that.
Iron Man 3.
What did you...
Sorry.
What did you think about the whole thing with his mom was talking about like everyone fails at being who they're supposed to be. You need to figure out who you are.
I dug that. I dug that a lot. And I thought that was a very interesting way for that character to go.
Because King Thor is pretty limited in storytelling potential, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like they're always going like, well, I have to like taking a character who is always driven by responsibility. Like I have to find the stones. Now I have to stop Ragnarok. I have to stop my brother. I have to lead these people.
I would say that he wasn't driven by responsibility. He was driven by glory and fun.
Early on,
he realized like there's all this other stuff.
But I'd say from I'd say borderline Age of Ultron onwards, because he took it on himself to search for the stones.
Yeah.
But then in Ragnarok and then in Infinity War, it was driven by vengeance.
Yeah.
Like taking a character who's always driven.
Yeah.
By various things and getting him to the point where it's like, okay, I don't have to do things.
Yeah. Well, and I
don't have to have a situation inform how I react. Like there's interesting places you can go with that.
And Thor's character is a character he's passionate, right? He's driven by his passions, and it makes sense that he would react that way when things are going badly.
Yeah.
It is interesting to see the role reversal between him and Valkyrie, though.
Yeah.
After the way she was in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Along with that, like Valkyrie doesn't really have an arc, and neither does Rocket Raccoon, even though he was a bigger presence in the movie.
Yeah.
Rocket kind of continues to be the sort of the sounding board for Thor as he was in Infinity War. So
which works because there's a great dynamic between those two, and there's a lot of great chemistry.
Did you catch when he was being chased by the guards in Asgard?
Like, get that rabbit! Yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty good. One character that I thought didn't have much of an arc at all was the Hulk. And then that was a minor thing that I struggled with. Like they don't address what was going on with him and the Hulk in the last movie. Like he couldn't.
Well, they kind of did. They kind of did.
What did they say?
They said at the first he was like, well, I lost twice. Hulk got his butt kicked. I got my butt kicked.
Yeah.
So that was their that was their way of addressing it.
So basically, they are saying that Hulk was just afraid to come out again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Hulk's interesting just because he does, outside of the Incredible Hulk, he doesn't have a solo movie. Mm-hmm. He will never get a solo movie because of the rights issues with Universal. So they've had to do the past 3 movies he's been in, or actually I'd say Age of Ultron onwards, he's kind of had a bit of an arc because you have him literally fleeing from everyone when Nat basically told him I love you, and he's like, I'm dangerous, I can't be around. And then in Ragnarok, it was all about like Bruce had been out of control, like it'd been the Hulk driving for 2 years, and then when you get to Endgame, it's now he needs to rely on the Hulk, who he's always treated as a disease, and the Hulk's afraid, or apparently afraid, because he got the crap kicked out of him. Mm-hmm. So there's been an evolution. So his whole point is, his arc in the movie isn't there because it's the end of a previous arc.
They've skipped over everything that came in between the last 2 movies and just said, here he is.
Yeah.
And the only extra thing that you get is the grief he has over Nat dying.
Yeah,
Black Widow.
It's like he's at the end of his arc because it's been sprinkled out throughout the other movies.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these other guys, we've spent so much more time with them.
Yeah.
And then they have arcs specifically in this movie.
Sure. What about? So I think Nebula actually had a pretty important role in the movie too, in her arc.
Yeah,
and, one thing that I liked. Rhodey didn't have a huge role, even though he was like a main character. In it, but he had a really nice moment with Nebula in the Temple of Doom, Temple of Power.
The Temple of the Power Stone,
where they kind of connect over the fact that this has taken a toll on them.
Yeah, physically. Like she's like, I wasn't always like this, and he's like, we do the best with what we've got.
I thought, and he said I wasn't either, right? Like, because he's got his back broken, has those robotic leg things. Still.
Yeah,
I thought that was a connection that I would never have thought of as a cool moment.
So many good moments.
But Nebula's overall arc, seeing how she's progressed as a character, because both characters were in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And her relationship with Gamora through that, and with Thanos through that was really interesting.
And it's been, even on a performance level, like it was really interesting watching, because not that she was bad in the first Guardians movie, but it's even in the second Guardians movie, like her performance was great, but it's like Karen Gillan found the character how she wanted it to be, because in the first movie I always think of that as she's walking away, just the thanks dad, like that angsty bit. Which this is before that part. Yeah. When she's young young Nebula. And then this Nebula, just like, you're seeing the caring, you're seeing the love she has for her sister, but even other people, like her and Tony at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, playing paper football.
and she's like, yes, that was fun. Still like guarded and angry.
I liked how Tony called her a blue meanie. From Sgt. Pepper from the Beatles.
She was great. I don't see him on the list, so I'm just gonna Hawkeye.
Oh, he's on there.
He is. Sorry. Oh yeah, Widow and Hawkeye.
Together because I think they're
they do get tied together, which was nice. That was good.
I mean, so you see that first scene, and I didn't notice this. My sister pointed out to me that he had the ankle bracelet on him in that first scene. Yeah, because he was still under house arrest.
Yeah.
With his family, man. And then seeing him become Ronin. Was pretty. I kind of wish you could get more with that. But it was kind of, it made the impression that it needed to. He was kind of being the Punisher type thing.
Borderline, Well, because to him, that's all that's left. I loved that they opened the movie with that. Because even though you knew it was coming, to open the movie with that, like that sets the tone. Like people in the theater gasped. Yeah. Both times I saw it, and it wasn't just like one or two. It was like the whole theater was like, oh. Yeah. Because they make, even though we've only seen the family and the kids a little bit, they're so likable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the best part of Age of Ultron for me was seeing his family and finding out that kind of twist about who he was. So I mean, that was a great way to start it off. I kind of expected it as soon as you see them. I know where this is going.
Well, because you see in the trailers like what he becomes, you're like, what is going to set him off to do that? The death of his family. Yeah, but still, and him running around like looking for them, and then added to it.
Natasha going a different direction and saying, this is the family that I've always had, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And I need to make this up. And then the two of them, when they got to Vormir, like we both know who this needs to be. Yes. I get the feeling we're talking about different people.
Yeah.
And then just that ongoing scene of them trying to sacrifice themselves for each other
and stop each other from doing it
was really just really good.
Yeah.
Like the connection that those two have. I like the way that they didn't go with the obvious romance. It was just really deep friendship, and they love each other in that way.
Literally ready to die for the other.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that I didn't expect Black Widow to die. In this movie,
and I'm weirdly glad that she did. But that's actually my statement for spoiler when we get to him, Tony, and spoiler Cap, but not really dead.
Soon though.
Soon. But it was just like the great thing about satisfying and finality of these is I don't know how much more room there was for these characters to go, and with Widow, she's in a similar spot.
Yeah.
Where the only unexplored territory we have is her time before.
Yeah, and they reference that again with Budapest. One thing about her death scene though is it felt like I was trying to remember. In Infinity War, when Gamora gets thrown off, is she lying in a pool of blood at the bottom?
Yes. She is?
Okay.
When I watched it again, it was the first time I noticed, not a lot, and same with Widow, there wasn't a lot, but behind her head. Yeah, but in Gamora's, it was green.
Okay, I just didn't notice it with Gamora, I think, or I don't remember, because I was kind of shocked with all the blood in that.
It took me till when I saw it Friday to notice.
Yeah, I noticed it the first time, and I was like, whoa, that's bloodier than usual.
With Widow, I noticed right away, but with Gamora, just with her being green and her hair being green, it's blends in. It blends in.
One person I forgot to put on my list and just came to my mind is Ant-Man. Is obviously an important part in the story as well. I wasn't expecting his daughter to be still around and have grown up.
No.
I guess I'd heard that she'd been recast as someone older or whatever, but that was an interesting take on it too, where she thought he had been snapped. And then we got the cool Chang. Cameo,
and we got a Shirley cameo.
And we did, later on, but
I thought, Scott's arc is interesting just because it isn't a full-on arc, but with him, where it's like you thought, oh man, like how's he going to be changed? He's especially with the 5 years later, you're like, he's been in there for 5 minutes or 5 years, but then he's like, no, it felt like 5 hours. 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting because everybody else lived through this, and then he has to come back to the horror of this. Everybody's already gone. He thinks his daughter's gone. Paul Rudd's acting was fantastic.
And he did a great job. I mean, he didn't really have an arc because I don't think he really needed an arc. He was kind of probably one of the more balanced of the events, even though he's a weirdo. But like
his Back to the Future comment was wonderful.
Die Hard. Oh wait, that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Where was I going with this?
I'm kind of sad that Cassie's older. Like the new actress did a great job, but the Cassie,
Cassie was very cute.
Oh man, and their like that was like normally I hate kid actors. That kid actor is great. And their dynamic in the Ant-Man movies is one of the things that like not everybody loves the Ant-Man movies, but that's not any. I've never heard a single complaint about the father-daughter dynamic between them. It's like one of the few universally loved things from them and the MCU. So I'm like, I'm gonna miss that.
So you were talking about this. Is what I was going to say. You were talking about him coming back and realizing what's happened,
learning everything that's happened.
One of the things it's a nitpick in the movie is like they snap everyone back into existence after 5 years. Now, imagine that the world had been not decimated is a bad term because that means 1 in 10, but half the population of animals and humans are gone. Right? And then for 5 years, the world continues on with a destroyed population. And like so, agriculture and industry, they've ground to a halt. There's not much left, and then all of a sudden, everybody comes back.
Well, they even mentioned like Cap mentions to Widow, like on my way here, I saw a pod of whales like in the San Francisco Bay. Not as much pollution.
But then all of a sudden, like, how is the world going to support all of a sudden the population being doubled after there's been nothing like like there's gonna be food shortages and there's gonna be like
and then just slightly further the nitpick. It was something I caught the second time. Like at the end, like Peter happily reunites with Ned. And I'm like, how do schools work?
Yeah.
Like, are they still in 10th grade?
Yeah, well, I guess, and that was the thing. Like, it has to be that everybody in his
Did
class...
everybody graduate? Like, did those who didn't get snapped, did they graduate?
Yeah, that must have been it. Like, because I was trying to figure out... It must be that
happened?
Ned and everybody... Assuming that Far From Home, Spider-Man Far From Home happens after this.
It does.
That they were all snapped too. Yeah. And then whoever wasn't snapped graduated, but they're there with people that were there 5 years below them.
Because if Ned didn't get snapped, like, he's too old to be in high school. He wouldn't just be hanging out.
So that must be what was going on there.
Yeah, that's nitpick territory.
Yeah, and I think that one's explainable.
Yeah, because that one's also, you're not going to devote any time in this movie to explaining
to the
that.
rebuilding of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the two last big arcs that we need to talk about are Cap and Iron Man. So let's talk with Cap first, because Iron Man's one's more important. Cap's arc, it was sort of like a... Well, I guess at the beginning it starts off with the two of them falling out hard because of this is your
Civil
fault,
War,
and we struggled this. Like I warned you this was going to happen. Iron Man says, and it's and so Cap continues to try and keep going, and he's in that. So Cap's doing like the self-help group. He's trying to keep things going. There's not like a whole lot really changing in him in that.
Yeah.
And then it's not really till the very end that you get the full arc with him. But the one thing that was, I think, an important part of his arc is when he sees his previous self. And he's kind of annoyed at himself.
Yeah.
My wife, Becky, doesn't really like Captain America. She thinks she's too like black and white. This is what's right, this is what's wrong. There's no bending with him, which is his character, right? And she just finds that annoying. So when he's fighting him and the older Cap gets up and says, "I could do this all," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." She laughed so hard at that part. That was like her favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because you've seen his growth as a character. Not to mention the fact that he swears so much in that scene.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
So there's just been the change in him, but it was the very end. Well, I guess they go back in time, and he sees Peggy. Through the glass. He's kind of creeping on her through the glass or whatever. And Tony, he sees Tony with the life that Tony's built with Pepper and his daughter Morgan, and he realizes that he wants that. So he goes back in time to replace
put the stones back.
Stoner and Mjolnir.
And
decides to stay there. And he gets old. Like he lives his life with Peggy. And there's some questions I have about that, but and then he hands off the legacy to Sam at the end, which is that's been one of the big questions is what's like who's going to take the after Cap? Is it going to be Bucky? Is it going to be Falcon? And I guess it's Falcon. So that was an interesting. I kind of wish we could have gotten. You mentioned this before too, like a little bit more
of that emotional send off with Bucky and Cap. I loved Cap in this movie, like absolute Cap after. Well, I mean, Cap after Endgame. Sorry, after Winter Soldier became my favorite.
But Winter Soldier is my favorite movie.
Winter Soldier was great, but that's where I really think they nailed the essence of Cap, because even though he can be debatably a stick in the mud, he's not a jerk. Like you see it in the first Avengers movie and everywhere. Even though someone's done wrong things, he'll be like, it's not about that. Like it's like what you can do now.
And my sister was pointing out to me, and I hadn't ever thought about this, that in the Captain America: The First Avenger, they talk about how the super soldier serum brings out more of who you are. And so Red Skull became more evil, and he became like, so he was a principled kind of American Golden Age kind of guy, truth, justice, and apple pie kind of thing. And that just possibly was elevated.
Is that something that worked into the comics because DC owned the trademark for truth, justice, in the American?
I don't know.
I'm just messing with you.
But like, so I mean, that may have been more his personality became stronger for that.
I did not see that happy ending coming.
No,
and I could not have been more happy.
Well, when they sent him back and he was like, "All right, coming back in 5," I was like, "Oh, he's not coming back."
Yeah,
like I knew right.
Well,
then,
and there was something with Bucky, like the look on Bucky's face, and he had shared the same words Steve had said when Bucky first left for war, like you're taking all the stupid with you, and Bucky looked a little bit more emotional. Where I'm like, afterwards, I realized like he knew, but I know I've seen some reaction online, people being like a little upset because like you don't want Evans to leave even though you knew he was leaving, but
as an old man he still has the most perfect teeth I've ever seen.
Seriously.
Sorry.
But I saw some people being like, well, in Age of Ultron, he was like, that guy who wanted that family and all that, like, that guy went under, and like, this is me. And that's fair for at that time, but the character's grown.
Yeah.
And that
been
was
through a lot since then.
Been through a lot, and that's his way of, like, the mission and all that, that's his way of being connected in the world in that modern day. But then when you look at it, it's like, if 5 years later, all you've had is like this being part of this huge disaster and defeat.
Yeah.
And then part of me is like, he's earned this happy ending.
Yeah.
But then also going back, like having to go back in time and then further back in time and then seeing Peggy.
Yeah.
And then at the end realizing, I'm like, of course he's going to go for that.
Yeah.
Like, it's that life he never got.
So in a little while, we'll talk about time travel and the questions that I have about that. So we'll hold off on some of the things I want to ask about his story.
I loved his ending.
Yeah, it was good. It was really, it was satisfying, as you would say.
Well, and seeing them finally getting that dance and then to end the movie on their potentially first kiss was just, I was so happy. I was tearing up a little bit.
You teared up then?
A little bit, yeah. I was like, it's really, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
like,
because
it's this character you knew who had been, like, even though there was the stuff with Sharon, which a lot of people online apparently have beef with, I didn't have any beef with that.
It is a little weird.
It's weird, but it's also like, I'm like, no, that like, this is a reference to the comics and all that. Yeah. Which, side note, loved there was 2 great Cap references in this movie, both in one scene. Okay. The elevator reference to Winter Soldier.
Oh, that was so cool.
I know. Loved it.
Yeah.
So they basically recreated the elevator sequence just minus the fight because they couldn't do the fight.
The Hail Hydra part.
And then him leaning in, referencing Hail Hydra from Winter Soldier, but then also referencing the very controversial Secret Empire story where Cap was... I'm like, that's the way to reference that.
Yeah, it was good.
And it was so good. So I'm like, I love so many good, like, fan references and just fan service in this movie.
So what was, you said there's 2 in one scene?
Yeah, no, that was
for
like,
the 2 things?
Yeah, because the other one, the elevator and then the Hail Hydra part. I'm like, it's also, so that was technically a 3-fer because it's referencing Winter Soldier again while referencing the comic.
The other one with Cap was like maybe the greatest moment of the movie was with him with Iron Man, or with Thor's hammer.
Oh, so good.
I'm not sure that I buy that he can summon it by holding his hand up or shoot lightning from it, but whatever.
Well, to me that made sense because they had set. I remembered right away to Age of Ultron because it was like they were all talking about it, where it's if you use it, like whoever uses this has the powers.
It does say that. You're right.
Then. But part of me, I was thinking about it afterwards, and Thor's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed worried about it.
He's like, no, you get the small one.
Yeah. But then I'm like, was he worried? And then you could just picture it. It's my headcanon, if you will. The Cap was just too humble to, in a party setting, like, pull up the hammer in front of everybody.
Or maybe he hadn't been through enough yet to...
Yeah, where it was like... I like the humble idea, but very much so. It's like... this movie was so Cap focused and Tony focused, but like that amazing last fight, like that 3-on-1, but then it was so much of it was down to just Cap versus Thanos. Yeah. And Cap still kept getting up. Yeah. And there was just something about him being the one guy, like everybody else was knocked up until the reinforcements showed up.
Well, until it was Iron Man versus Thanos. That was the end.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, like before everybody was kind of brought back. Yeah. Like when he's going up at like him by himself, facing off against Thanos by himself, and then Thanos and the army, and he's still walking forward.
Yeah. He always gets up.
That was so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big one.
The big one. Tony. Yeah.
I was also surprised by how that arc went down. Like, you see in the trailers that he's stuck in space, and you're like, oh man, how is he going to get back? And it's like, oh, okay, he's back.
And that's
the one thing that Captain Marvel was really important for in the movie.
Well, because people there were so many rumors before, like, friggin' Pepper goes and saves him and all that, where it's like, when he says how far they are from anything, I'm like, it's got to be Captain Marvel or this is the Stan Lee cameo or that's it. Like there's or like that's legitimately the only options we got.
And
unless they're working Nova into the movie.
They cut to 5 years later. Yeah. And I was amazed that they had the daughter. And I loved his stuff with his daughter.
Yeah, oh man.
The I Love You 3000 At the end, when he says that in the hologram, that's the part where I cried.
Yeah, no,
maybe because my wife is pregnant with our first child right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Our daughter. But
no, that was one of the moments, like, I was tearing. Like, there was a couple moments where it was, like, on the verge of tears. That was one of them. Yeah. Him reuniting with Peter.
That was the one where I was misty. Yeah,
just because I'm like...
But I was like, oh, that's...
Well,
this is nice.
And this shows, like, to the strength of the movie, it's what... There's been a couple times, and I can think of specifically, like, two things from Lord of the Rings. One's in The Two Towers, the other's in Return of the King, where everything is firing on all cylinders in a film. When the score, the performance, everything, and just the majesty of what you're watching hits, and then I'm like, I'm about to tear up. But it's... And that was, like, when everybody came back. And you get that little extended shot of Peter where it's just like, because that had such the impact in Infinity War. Like, that was the one everybody was talking about.
Well, and so all the way through, there was so much stuff for Tony, right? Like, he doesn't want to have anything part of it because he's gained so much with Pepper and his daughter. Is everything that he needs.
And he had the crap kicked out of him so much that he's just like, I'm out.
Yeah. and he's doing dishes or something, and you see the picture of his dad, and you think he's going to go look at that, but behind it there's a picture of Peter.
Him and Peter.
And that was like he's still hurting because of that.
Well, and even at the beginning of the movie, like before he lays into Cap, like when Cap still goes to help him because that's what Cap does. Yeah. That's like, I lost the kid.
Yeah. And the thing with his dad is that part was important for him as well.
Oh, yeah.
As he goes back and meets his dad.
Yeah.
And talks to him about, being and again, this stuff is important to me right now in this stage of life with my having a baby soon, but him like freaking out about like, I'm going to be a dad and I'm not going to do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
And getting advice from his son about like, and just sort of the just sort of catharsis and the closure that you could tell was going on there for the character.
Especially because like in Civil War, it was like he was focused on, seemed more upset about his mom dying than his dad. But throughout the movies, you always saw that it was
he struggled with his
relationship. It was a struggle. It was
a
strained relationship.
Yeah.
But then you further learn, like, it was a very loving relationship. It just, I don't want to say it wasn't healthy, but
his dad
was strained.
Struggled to be a loving dad.
Yeah. Or struggled to express that love. I know a lot of people are upset that he died.
I think it was fitting, but
it was fitting,
sad.
But no, and it was sad. But a lot of people are like, no, you can't do this. Like, and this was the thought I had coming out of this movie for both Cap and Tony. I don't know if there's any other places for those characters to go. So it was a fitting end for both of them because, like, the only other territory I personally think there was for Iron Man to go was because he's already, like, at the end of Age of Ultron, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But then he was back.
I thought he was going to lose his family and then maybe go on somewhere else, like maybe with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they did that with Thor instead.
But then it's like the only territories left were like him as a husband and a father, which we got.
Yeah.
And then the death.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like as much as I want that character, because especially since Age of Ultron onwards, I thought every writer has gotten like Tony in the Strike Zone, where not that there were Tony in Iron Man 1, Avengers 1, Iron Man 2, even Avengers 3, even Iron Man 3, even though the movie sucks, like his performance was great. Like they've got the character in the Strike Zone where he's grown. And the longer the character's there, but there's not necessarily stuff to go for, the only real room is regression. Unless they do the alcohol route, but I feel like that chance is passed.
Sure. And like they kind of did this with Michael Fassbender in the X-Men franchise, where every time he's happy, they have to rip it away from him so he can continue being a villain.
Yeah.
And they kind of zigzag back and forth with him, which is not good.
So
but in here,
they had so much they can do.
They had the growth, not just in Tony, but in his relationship with Pepper had changed too.
Yeah.
Because she was always like, we need to stop, no more surprises, we need to get out of this game. And then in this one, when he's thinking about it, he's like, I'll stop.
Yeah.
I could go back in time, but I won't. And she says, you won't be able to rest. And I know that I can't stop you, and you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And at the end, when he's dying, she comes down, and the thing that she says to him is, we're going to be okay because you did it, right?
You can rest.
You can rest. And oh yeah, because there's a connection. She said you won't be able to rest.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
And
that
this might be my favorite use of Pepper ever.
Yeah,
like I've never cared for Gwyneth Paltrow all that much. Not like she's a bad actress, just something about her performance. I'm like, I could go without it. But in this movie, like especially upon second viewing, I was like, dang, they had everybody in their strike zone.
It was I mean, just the growth there, and when he gets Peter back and he's so emotional about that.
Yeah,
that was one of the parts. As I said, I was almost crying.
Yeah, and
then when he does die. And then the very next shot, they show the arc reactor from the first Iron Man, proof that Tony Stark has. I was like, that... No, I guess that was right after he was talking to his daughter. Through the hologram.
The proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
That part killed me.
Yeah,
and then he's talking... She's talking to
Happy
about cheeseburgers.
And your father loved cheeseburgers. I'm just like, oh my gosh! Like, I want to go get a cheeseburger and cry.
I mean, there's just so many good emotional... moments and all of that.
Like I've loved these actors as these characters. I've loved these characters. So on one hand, I'm like, I don't want to see them go, but both Cap and Tony, like I don't know how much more mileage there was. Not that the actors couldn't have keep giving great performances, but I don't think there was anywhere else for Cap to go. At least the Steve Rogers Cap.
And did you? I mean, there was the I Am Iron Man before the snap. And he fixed everything. I mean, they're just really because Iron Man started this thing, and they're going to end it with him. Well,
I'm not going to lie. I was borderline expecting him just to flip Thanos off and then do it, just because I'm like, that would be a very in-character thing, but I'm happy they didn't. I wouldn't have been upset if they did. It would have gotten a lot of laughs, but it might have undercut everything a little too much.
Did you stay to the end of the credits?
No, but I know what they did. They did that.
Like
they did the hammering
from the first movie. I don't think that means anything. I think it was just sort of
it was just the symbolic. The fact that they didn't do any post credits, I think, was the right call. I know last time you and I talked about it, I'm like, you've just gotten so many properties back, so you might want to. Like the temptation would be there, and it'd be understandable to be like, do something as an X-Men reference, do something for Fantastic Four, do something for whatever. Like, it's the first time ever that they've gotten 90 to 99% of their character pool back in house, but also it was great to end it with no post credits.
Just let the story end, and then continue on. Everyone knows it's going to continue on, but let this story not be now here's the next thing.
But these 22 films, all contributed to this. This film is absolutely unprecedented. I think there's a lot of hyperbole around this movie, but that's not hyperbole. That is true. No other franchise has had 22 movies that, while they all had their own story, had a continuously running aim and focus. It is borderline. It is comparable to television, but it's not the same.
Big.
It's its own thing. Like, it's a rare time in film. I think you can say this is one of a kind, and this was the first. Well,
I feel like Avengers was sort of one of a kind.
It was the first of its kind.
But this one just takes it to a whole new level, and the way it wraps it up.
And it's so interesting because beforehand, like way back when they announced like they were going to end it, like the main story, it was going to be Infinity War Part 1, Infinity War Part 2. This is not Infinity War Part 2. It's so tonally different. It's so very much its own thing. Like, it's hard to rank them both because they're two. It is, even though it is in some ways, because it carries on the story from Infinity War. But it's such a huge wrap-up.
It's more than that. Yeah,
exactly.
It's the conclusion to more than just that story. It's the conclusion to everything that came
before.
It would be
like the only comparison I have would be like to other films. Like Return of the King is not Two Towers Part 2. Two Towers is not Fellowship of the Ring Part 2. The original Star Wars trilogy, same thing. Even though they're a continuous story, they're each their own thing. Like, this is not...
But you can't really just watch Two Towers and get the whole story, get a complete story on its own, right? So it is a continuation in that sense.
It is a continuation in that sense, but Two Towers also has an isolated story.
Sure.
Just like in Infinity War, like, they complement each other so well, and it's not like the recent trend of when they're doing adaptations, like Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2, where it's like you're splitting for the buck. Or because you feel you can't do it, and I've recently rewatched them, and I'm like, you could have trimmed over half of Deathly Hallows Part 1. I haven't seen Mockingjay or whatever.
I haven't seen any of those, no.
But they split up, and people are like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
Twilight, same thing, where it's like, or The Hobbit.
Yeah. Before we go up down that trail.
Yeah, sorry. To say, it is... when they said it's not going to be part 2 anymore, I'm like, I get it. It's Infinity War sets this movie up, but it is not like tonally Infinity War Part 2 because it goes in such a different direction.
Okay. Well, what was your favorite cool moment in the movie?
Oh my gosh.
Was it Thor or Cap with the hammer?
That is probably number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 is the elevator because that's one of my favorite scenes in.
Yeah, I got excited when that part came.
Yeah, no, I'm like, oh my gosh.
The part that made me like actually cheer out loud was when Ant-Man punched the space whale. For some reason, that just really got me. I was like, "That's so cool!" Giant Man, I guess I should say.
So it's with movies. Like I used to always cheer, but my wife hates that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I tried not to.
Yeah.
But when they were doing the characters returning, and it was like on your left,
that was a cool scene too.
I was like, and then when like I cheered, I couldn't help but cheer. Like I got swept up in the audience, getting swept up. I love it when film has that emotional impact on people. Yeah. It's why the dusting sequence at the end of Infinity War is probably my favorite part of it because everybody was like gasping, people were crying, and I was like, I freaking love this because that's an opportunity film has. You're going to be entertained, but I also love it when you can connect and it can impact you.
Cool.
So getting swept up like that did it. But
I also really liked in that part when they show everybody.
Yeah.
And they show Doctor Strange and Wong, and they're like, "Is that everybody?" And Wong's like, "You want more?"
Yeah. And actually, Steve finally saying "Avengers Assemble" like that got a cheer.
That's true. What do you think of the girl power part?
So I dug it. Like like I said to you just now, the only thing that was upon second viewing was the Mantis part was just kind of funny because I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like I like Mantis, but Jill and I talked about it afterwards. It's like we haven't seen her fight, so she could be a great fighter. I'm like, it's true, but based on what we've seen, I'm like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Because your whole thing is like feeling stuff. You're running up against the mindless venom dog things, and you're not. There's nobody to do this to. You're going to die in 2 seconds.
The part of that scene that I thought was a little bit weird was because Peter was in it originally, and they all pop out. They should have kind of had him like, okay, and just backing up. But my wife whispered this to me, and I was thinking the same thing when they were like, she has help. My wife Becky was like, she doesn't need the help. No, it's true. She just blasted through everybody.
But she didn't need any help.
But it was just the cool. Like everyone's been waiting for that.
Since we had so many, it was all about like fan pleasing. You said the term earlier, and I forgot it already.
Fan service.
There we go. We had so much fan service. Like I've got no reason to complain about that.
No, it was fine. I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it worked the way they wanted to. But I'm a guy, so who cares?
Yeah, no. It was really funny though, because in talking to a mutual friend of ours, I don't know if I have her permission to say her name.
That's fine.
But she was like, I especially realized that in that girl power scene, none, in her opinion, outside of Nebula and Gamora, none of the female characters have been insanely well developed. They've been borderline plot devices where it's like...
except for Natasha.
Except for Natasha, yeah. And so she and the other two, where it's like, they've got some great defining qualities, but it's like, hasn't been insanely developed. So I'm like, that's interesting.
Pepper has, but it's always been in relationship with...
No, well, and that's so many of the Marvel female characters, like Captain Marvel, is like, well, I'm the toughest and I'm this and I'm... like the feminist icon, but and it's a beef I had with the movie, they didn't allow a lot of emotional development. Wasp, as much as I enjoy Evangeline Lilly, it's like her character is almost borderline in response to Scott's character. Valkyrie,
she's a straight man in the comedy duo.
And Valkyrie,
everybody is except for the cons in him. Basically.
Valkyrie's similar, where I'm like, that's interesting. Not that they're bad characters, but they haven't been...
Well, because the movie wasn't called Valkyrie.
No,
the movie wasn't like
exactly. And out of that, like at one point I heard like, we might do an A-Force movie because that's the female Avengers. I'm like, why not? Go for it. Like it's women. I said it when I did a random podcast recently where I was just talking about stuff. Women make up 50% of the population. So
even after the snap.
Even after the snap. So it's like, and then now since the snap's been undone, like women make up 50%. So why not? Why not the A-Force movie? Yeah. Or in the Spider-Verse spin-offs, we're getting like the female spider characters. Yeah. Why not? I love those characters. Bring them.
Okay, well, so
sidetracks.
Let me change the subject.
Yeah.
Time travel in this movie. They established that it's not like Back to the Future. I know.
Well, they shot down like every time travel movie.
Yeah, I know what quote is going to come out of your mouth in a little bit, but they established that if you go back in time and you change that time, you can't then go back to your future because you can, but it won't be changed.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
So it'll make a divergent path, right? Which is why at the end they had to go back and they'd return everything to the moment they stole it in.
Yeah.
However, the one thing that didn't make sense to me is when Cap goes back and he comes back old, he doesn't come back on the platform dressed in his quantum thing. They look over and he's already sitting on the bench.
Right.
So does that mean that when he went back and stayed there after Peggy dies, he just comes and joins them for this?
Yeah. So that was my takeaway. That
doesn't make sense with the rules that they established. Because if he went back and stayed with her, that should have been a divergent thing that shouldn't have any effect on the current timeline. It's a nice moment, but it doesn't work. So that was my one kind of like time travel thing that I thought was a little bit strange.
That might be fair. I didn't have that inherent issue because it debatably created another path. You're right, but then part of that path was him ending up back there.
No, because they say you can't go into the past and change something and have it affect the present you came from.
So,
it doesn't work that way.
But what I'm saying though is like now you've got this path where there's the rest of the time played out with Cap being gone and them never meeting him, and then there's his offshoot, and his offshoot is arguably what we saw, where he came back as old Cap and said farewell to them. Do you get what I mean?
Came back as in he just lived out his life.
He lived out his life till that moment.
But he shouldn't have been able to get back there by living out his life.
Why not?
Because he was in a divergent path at that time. He wasn't in the same pathway.
But then there's still some stuff. But then they didn't go into the intricacies of what. Okay. Because also, like, and people have pointed out online, like, there are other paths where there are other potentially divergent timelines where, like, Thanos did the snap, nothing got changed, they didn't win the day.
Yeah, and well,
we're getting into the multiverse territory.
There's the timeline where Thanos went to the future and never came back, right?
Exactly.
So now what's your quote?
I don't know.
Every time we talk about time that doesn't make sense, you say wibbly wobbly.
Oh yeah, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Sorry,
you ruined that for me.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I was so wrapped up in this, I was not thinking references.
The other thing that I have a question about, but I think I have an answer for it too, is there's also a timeline out there where Loki escapes with the Tesseract.
Yeah,
and they never deal with that.
Well, no, and that's so this movie is really interesting.
Yeah.
In the sense of, like, they've introduced the multiverse. Like, this was a way of doing it, a debatably very confusing way.
Yeah.
And I hope they roll it out.
As if the multiverse should be simple.
Yeah, I know, but I hope they explore it later, because you've got several fish out of water now. Because you've got Gamora, who developed and fell in love with and was with Quill. She's still dead.
Yeah, but the past Gamora is now
now in the present and missing. Because by the end of it, they don't know where she is.
He's doing a Google search for her.
Yeah. He's asked Jeeves. Yeah. So she's now past Gamora.
He didn't ask Jarvis, though.
No, he didn't. But past Gamora is now in the current timeline. And then in the past timeline, we saw Loki peace out. So then there was, with the Tesseract, so then it's like, are they going to use that as a way to bring Loki back in? There's room for it, or
it's the TV show,
or the Loki TV show.
Yeah, so that's my theory, is that's setting up somehow for the Disney Plus TV show, which they've said is going to be him narrating about his younger life. Yeah. But they lie to us all the time because they don't want to give things away.
The Disney Plus TV show stuff is going to be interesting because I heard you were going to get Wanda and Vision, like they were going.
I think it's called WandaVision.
WandaVision, and my hope is still it's the rom-com that I've been waiting for years.
But they didn't bring him back.
Yeah, no, but Vision's still dead.
Yeah,
like that. Nothing. I mean,
it's possible that Shuri's been working on him and he'll come back without his emotions, or I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, yeah, it's like maybe they were in Wakanda and it was the like they just did a backup while they were doing stuff. Like,
maybe
let's back him up just in case we lose him.
It's also possible that it's going to take take place between Civil
exactly.
War and Infinity War,
and this.
And
that's the advantage of these shows.
They showed a picture at one of the cons, and Mary-Kate and Ashley's sister, what's her name? Olsen.
Dang it.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, Elizabeth,
mentioned this. That there's a picture of them, and it looks like they're in the 50s. So whatever's going on there, we don't really know.
Yeah.
This movie also sets up for a bunch of the other TV shows, right? So the one that they talked about is Hawkeye. It's going to be about him passing on
to Kate Bishop.
Or maybe his daughter.
Which I'm not sure about. Oh, funny story. His daughter in the movie is played by Joe Russo's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And they also have talked about some Young Avengers type stuff, which is like the next generation of Avengers. Yeah. But so they had... Cassie's now grown up, and she's one of the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
They have Kate Bishop, or maybe they'll go with Hawkeye's daughter.
Well, I think they've said they'll do Kate Bishop, but maybe they'll go his daughter.
The other thing that they did is I had to look up who this was, but in the funeral scene for Tony Stark, there's that random kid,
the kid from Iron Man 3. I just learned that like half an hour before I met you.
So I mean,
whole time I was like, who the heck is that guy?
Yeah, we were trying to is that maybe Captain America had a son with Peggy Carter? Like, who is that guy? But it's a kid from Iron Man 3. So there's a bunch of these kids that have now grown up that they could use in this TV show to do the Young Avengers.
So I've got a question for you.
Sure.
Sorry, I interrupted. Finish this.
Okay. Well, so talking about TV or things that are set up for it, there's the Bucky and Falcon kind of buddy cop show they're talking about,
which now is probably going to be called Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Which I haven't read any of Sam's run as Cap. But I'm a fan of a YouTube channel, Comics Explained. Shout out, check it out. The guy's name is Rob. He goes into outstanding detail, and he got me really hyped for Sam's first couple issues as Falcon. And I'm like, I'm interested now because, Winter Soldier is the best way. It was a political thriller, but it wasn't like taking modern politics and forcing it in. But it had political themes in there. Captain Marvel, to a less extent, where it's like, let's get the topical issue of refugees and put it in the movie. I'm like, that was a little bit more forced. But with Sam's first issue, even though I haven't read it, but I know it's all about not my Cap, a very divided thing. I'm like, this is an interesting way where you can touch on this stuff and do it well, as long as we don't get into caricatures. So I'm quite interested to see how they go with this show, because that can be a show where they can talk about things without being heavy-handed about it, but while still not losing that buddy cop aspect.
And I think the one show that they're missing out on having is Cap to the Future. I want to see the miniseries of him jumping through time and putting the stones back and then meeting the Red Skull.
I know.
That's the show that I want to see.
I know that was the one. Not even a nitpick, but I was like, oh man, I so wish Cap went to Vormir just to get that, to get him to be like, what? And Red Skull to be like, you.
Yeah. Or just been like, I'm over it now.
I've matured. Something.
But so this is the first of the MCU movies that's directly referenced any of the TV shows. So they had Howard Stark's butler was Jarvis. Who was in the Peggy Carter TV show as Jarvis. So that was kind of a cool nod.
Oh, yeah. So since you mentioned it, here's my question. When did Peggy Carter take place? Because I haven't watched it yet.
They did 2 seasons.
Okay.
And they also did the short.
Okay.
The short probably seems to take place afterwards, but it doesn't really seem to fit very well with continuity.
Right.
So it takes place after Cap dies, before S.H.I.E.L.D. it's still the SSR. Okay. And it's World War II has ended.
Okay.
And she was this hero with the Howling Commandos during World War II.
Right.
And then they give her this desk job with the SSR after the war ends, and she's kind of dealing with that. And there's 2 seasons that take place in there. And the idea is eventually she'll be called up to lead S.H.I.E.L.D. when it becomes S.H.I.E.L.D.
So that was that like the 50s or 60s or something?
It'll be the late 40s, early 50s, yeah.
Okay. Because I know in the show she got married, right?
In the movie it talks about her getting married. In the show she didn't.
Oh, right, yeah.
Well, the show ends on a cliffhanger after season 2.
Right.
It never got continued. Yeah, so I mean, we don't really know what happened in that timeline.
Because I know people were like, "Well, she got married. What happened?" And people had said I had heard she got married in the show. So I'm like,
she didn't.
Okay, because I was like, I was like, this takes place after the show, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the questions about the timeline thing is whatever happened to her family that she had with. She got married.
Yeah.
Cap's
or
there.
Someone asked, what happened to Sharon? Because we haven't seen Sharon since Civil War.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, I would have been interested. I did not have the problem that people did with Sharon and Steve kissing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, one, it's a very emotional moment. Two, it's a nod to the comic book continuity. And three, there had been a flirtation with these characters. Like, yes, it's icky, but there's a comedy there. But
and
I think
he'd never kissed her, so there's no
no, exactly.
He just liked her. He never went anywhere with it.
Yeah, no, and I
this is why you shouldn't have multi-generational lives. It just doesn't work.
I know, it gets awkward.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, some people were like, well, where's Sharon? They should have included her. I'm like, I don't think there would have been a place for her.
Yeah.
In the it would have been out of place to put her into Infinity War. And then even more so in this one, because we didn't see her in Infinity War. We don't know if she got snapped. We also didn't see Maria Hill. But we know she... Yeah, no.
Wasn't she there with Stark? No. Or at the Stark funeral?
Not that I don't... Oh, wait, maybe?
I think she was. But
okay, because I noticed she specifically wasn't with Nick Fury. And I figured that she would be, because she's always by his side. But I'll let you know tomorrow if I spot her. I'll keep an eye out for her at the end.
The other cameo that we mentioned, I didn't see this, but I was watching a video by Mr. Sunday Movies talking about Easter eggs in this.
Send me the link and I'll include the link.
Okay, he said that it shows a clip and there's Howard the Duck is in the battle at the very end of the movie, and everyone's there.
Which I'm just kind of like, I was weirdly thinking about Howard the Duck during the end of it. I'm like, oh man, you're getting the shot of like Rocket with War Machine. It would be funny if they somehow included Howard just to get those interactions. Like, Howard with Rocket could be entertaining.
Yeah, so, I mean, the other things that are set up for this is obviously Guardians 3 with Thor in it.
Yeah.
Which will be an interesting mix, and I guess the search for Gamora.
Will they go with Asgardians of the Galaxy?
Well, that's a comic book.
Yeah. No, I know.
Also, shout out for that, they had Rocket in his, like, Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics outfit. The whole
nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's not really set up, but basically proves that it has to be in the past now is they're doing that Black Widow movie.
Yeah,
and
well,
she did. So
there was always speculation that they said they were going to explore the origin a bit.
Yeah.
A bit with Scarlet, a bit with not. So I'm like, I wonder how they're going to do this. Maybe it's just like her recording her memoir or something.
Yeah.
Not her memoir, but something before she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is...
Well, I'd be interested to see if that ties in at all to Agent Carter, because there's a little bit of the Russian Red Room in that show as well. But, yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say about this.
No,
You said you give this movie a 10 out of 10?
I'd give it...
9.99?
I'd give it, like... there's... Part of me is like, at least a 9.5, maybe a 10. Outside of the only thing I feel is, like, a legitimate gripe is the Bucky complaint, but that's still not enough for me to be like, no, it's almost perfect. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can't think of any like glaring flaws. The score was magnificent, and the callback to past songs, and even in certain scenes repeating the exact same score, like almost beat for beat, worked. Like the music was, I've got no complaints. It is an amazing film.
I feel like I don't even know how to rank it, because I feel like I can't rank it as a movie, right?
It's own beast.
I feel like Infinity War was a better single movie.
That's fair. That's fair.
But this was not. This was so much more than a movie. It was so much more than a sequel to Infinity War. It was the end to the MCU.
Yeah.
And I am satisfied.
Yeah, no,
that's the word. And I've loved following the MCU. I think I've seen every movie except for Captain Marvel on opening weekend, just because I couldn't get there on opening weekend for that one. I followed this all the way through. I own them all on DVD because I'm old school like that. And I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watch most of the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
I've loved this experience from start to finish. I'm looking forward to the next phase. And this was, I think I'd have to give it a 10 out of 10 as for what it is, because it's the best conclusion to this that they could have come out.
I can't think of a single way this could have been better.
Yeah. If it was just a movie where I was given, like, if I just did like the cram it on YouTube kind of thing and just watched this, I probably would have given it like an 8, 8.5, 9, somewhere in there. But it was just perfect for what it needed to be.
It's going to be difficult to put it in overall rankings because it's such a different beast than any of the other movies. Yeah. But if I had to, I know it's in my top 5.
Yeah,
it might be number 1. But that it's difficult because it's so different.
Yeah.
While having elements of everything that's the same.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes it so different, because of how it treats those elements and how it's like, it's there's so much emotional stuff. Like, it is a borderline difficult watch in the sense of it takes a toll on you, but not in its upsetting. Like, you are on a ride, an emotional ride with these characters. You get the highs, the lows kick you. Like, it is tiring after you watch it. Both times when I've gotten home, I'm like, I just need to throw on like The Office or something that I've watched a bunch, because I'm just like, I'm still feeling this movie. All
right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, should we call it a day there?
I think so. So, dear listener, if somehow by the time we've posted this, you haven't seen this movie, and then
you've listened to the whole thing,
and you foolishly listened through this. Not that no, this is like, it's a great episode. All our episodes are great, but like, if
they're even better when I'm on them.
Yes, no, I love doing this with you, man. If somehow, like, you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you have seen it and you listen to this, I encourage you to go see it again. It is a wonderful, one-of-a-kind film. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting One Cross Radio and going on this journey with us, where we talk about stuff and we get to explore it, and
for like an hour and a half,
and share our thoughts.
An hour and 10 minutes.
And we get to share our thoughts and our
minutes.
feelings and all that, like, at times about stuff just about movies, but other times things more seriously. So thank you for all the support, all the love. As always, if you want to support us financially, please hit up our coffee site or check out a Redbubble to buy some sweet swag. Let us know in the comments, unless you're on the website because comments are disabled, then drop me an email. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of Endgame? What did you think of our conclusions? How did it impact you? I want to know. This is going to be a movie we're going to be talking about for a long time, I think. It's a conversation piece.
We already did talk about it for a long
time. No. I didn't mean us. I just meant, like...
I have to go home, Chris. My wife's pregnant, all right?
I think this is a water cooler kind of movie. It's going to be digested for a while.
Yeah, it's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. 1.2 billion, Steve.
In
my
4 days.
Goodness, in 4 friggin' days.
For the whole world.
It's nuts. All right, well, all that being said, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and God bless, my friends. Steve, you'll be a dad by the time this is posted. So, Guys, please pray for Steve. You're going to be a great dad, man.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. If not, I'll kick you in the nuts. But
and then kick me in the nuts again.
Yep. Nope. Twice. Because the first time I'll miss. The second time I'll get both. All right. Thanks, listener, and God bless.
See ya.
Take care. Peace.